Canada's key vaccine supplies under threat. The Prime Minister has expressed concerns that the EU will use export controls to cut off Canada's precious supply of the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines, despite getting assurances that they won't. And what about India, which is set to send Canada 1.5 million doses of AstraZeneca? Is that government threatening to hold back supply for their own population? It's all put a spotlight on Canada's influence on the global stage on a week when Canada joined allies like the US, the EU, and the UK, hitting both the Chinese and Russian officials with new sanctions. Is Canada prepping for a more hostile relationship with some key powers? Let's find out. Joining me now is Canada's Foreign Affairs Minister, Marc Garneau. Minister, good to have you on the program. I want to start on the vaccine threats and the concerns here. Has your government got a guarantee from the European Union that it will not use any export controls to stop Canada's precious vaccine supply?
So what I will say, Evan, is that we have been continuously reassured by Europe, and this is based on calls by the Prime Minister, by Minister Ng. I've made some calls myself that they will respect the contracts that we have signed with Moderna and Pfizer. We have, as recently as Friday, gotten those reassurances. Minister Ng was talking to France and Sweden and Belgium, and we continue to get those reassurances. And I would remind Canadians that we have received all of the vaccines that we have a contract for so far.
That's in the first quarter. The big concern is the second quarter, when the lion's share of our vaccines are supposed to arrive from there. Canada is still not sort of exempt, though, from the export control. So when you're speaking to the European leadership, what are they saying to you? They say, you know, we'll honor it, but we've just seen them threaten to cut off supplies to the UK. They're clearly not immune to doing that. Have they said Canada is exempt, we'll take you off the export controls list?
Well, the only countries that are exempt are 92 countries that are developing countries. We're obviously not a developing country. But again, Evan, we have been given reassurances that our contracts with Moderna and Pfizer are going to be respected, and we're fully confident that Europe will live up to that.
Okay, what about guarantees from India and Prime Minister Modi that Canada's 1.5 million doses of AstraZeneca that we're expecting to get will not be blocked?
Well, again, we have a contract for 2 million doses of the Covishield from the Serum Institute, and all of our indications, and we monitor this, are that in addition to the 500,000 doses we've already received, that India will provide us with the other 1.5 million in the coming weeks.
Okay, so there's a guarantee that India is not going to stop that?
There are specific reassurances that they will respect that contract.
I want to move on to China. Your government slapped four officials and one business entity with sanctions over the human rights abuses China has inflicted on the Muslim minority Uyghur population there. That happened the same day that one of the two Michael Kovrig's show trial took place in Beijing. Minister, China is warning that Canada will, quote, have to pay a price for their ignorance and arrogance. What are you expecting in terms of China's response?
Well, we don't know what their response will be, but it's important to know that we are a country that has principles and values and operates by the rule of law. And sometimes we have to speak up, and that is what we have done with respect to arbitrary detention under bogus charges of Michael Spavor and Michael Kovrig, and also gross violations of human rights of the Uyghurs and other ethnic minorities in the Xinjiang area. And Canada will deal with China in a very complex relationship, even though China has changed a lot in the last 5 years. We'll deal with China with issues such as trade and other kinds of relations, but sometimes we have to speak up.
So what's the message to China?
The message is this. I've known bullies in my life, but I also know bullies can change. But they will only change if you pass the message to them that they have to change. And this is the message that we are carrying along with our allies, that if China wants to operate on the world stage, which is fine, they must operate under international rules and the rule of law. And that is a message that Canada and more other countries are starting to pass to China. It just can't do whatever it wants and expect to have things done its way through its coercive diplomacy. We hope that they will change, but we need to carry those messages to them in order for them to change.
But, sir, the way countries speak to each other is through their ambassador. Our ambassador, Dominic Barton, was not in China for the trials of the two Michaels after more than 2 years, was not at home, was not in China when Canada brought the sanctions against Chinese officials. This was the most critical day. Why was he brought home, sitting in quarantine in Canada, when he should have been joining other ambassadors in Beijing, standing outside that courtroom?
It is perfectly standard procedure for the government of Canada to recall ambassadors when they need to have important discussions. And at the moment, we need to have important strategic discussions with Ambassador Barton on our relationship with China. And that decision was made before the announcement of the trials, and that's why he came back and he was in quarantine. And we were very ably represented by the Chargé d'Affaires, Jim Nicol, who did an excellent job and, of course, was accompanied by members of 22 other countries in front of the courthouse in Beijing.
What pressure are you putting on the U.S. right now to help free the two Michaels?
We brought it up, the Prime Minister, on the very first official meeting back on the 23rd of February with President Biden. I have subsequently brought it up with my counterpart, Secretary Blinken. The United States, let me say, is very seized with the fact that this is an extremely important issue for Canada. And they have said so. And they have even gone so far as to say, as you know, that they are treating the two Michaels as though they were American citizens. You can't get more serious about it than that.
All right, I got to leave it there. A new Canadian position on some key issues here. Marc Garneau, thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
My pleasure, Evan.